Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Take Charge, where it is our mission for our viewers to take charge of their future by taking charge of their now. I am so glad that you're in attendance this evening. We've got a great show for you. In fact, we've got two great episodes coming up dedicated to one thing. Let me ask you, have you been or are you currently right now in a dark place? Are you in a dark place where you're seeking some kind of answer? You're seeking some kind of light. You're seeking answers to your truth. Are you in a dark place? Have you been in a dark place, or do you even know someone else in a dark place? These two episodes are solely dedicated to not only helping you in that dark place, but showing you that there is a way. What better way than to show a living example of that? We all have stories, but I really feel that you're going to get a great benefit out of the story that Minister Brian Borley has to share. Minister Brian Borley, please say hello to the audience.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me to speak today.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure. So before we get started, is there anything you want to say, or what would you say your mission is at this time?
My mission right now is to serve people. Had a lot of pitfalls in my life, and God just placed it in my heart when I came to the epiphany that I need to do something for somebody else.
And so often we get caught up in ourselves. We get caught up in our own problems. It seems like it's all about me. But I think the more enlightened, the further we get in our purpose, the more we realize it's not about us. It's about who we can touch, who we can bless. And that brings us to our title tonight, From Hustler to Fisher of Men. Now, I know that may seem a little extreme or a little out there, but I promise you we're going to find a way to make sure that you completely understand that entire journey. So, Minister Borley, when we talk about from hustler to fisher of men, how did we even get there? I mean, where does that story even start?
It starts with a kid going through a separation of my parents and not feeling you want to let go of the family bond that you have. You decide that you're going to be rebellious, and that rebellion started me in drugs.
Wow.
And it wasn't that I was taking it. It was just I met somebody when I was very young who asked me, did I want to carry a package? And if that package would give me some money that I didn't have to ask my parents for, I was fine.
So it started from a separation.
Yeah.
And so many times when I talk to people who have dealt with drugs or even gangs, a lot of times it's to seek out an attention or a bond that they feel was lacking at home. Would you say that was the same for you?
Pretty much. You feel a void, and you try to replace that void with something that's going to give you fulfillment. And the roller coaster spiraled forward from there. You know, it snowballed. And as I got into my high school days, college days, it just took off into a bigger magnitude.
What? So you mean to tell? I thought you were in high school. So when you were younger with the package, how old were you with the package?
We were in like middle school.
Wow,
middle
wow.
school.
So even in middle school.
Yeah.
And so in your college days, when you say snowball, what do you?
I got a lot bigger in college. I always had a great mind with numbers, and most hustlers are very sharp at some attributes of business.
Agreed.
Even though we were never taught business. Either we count very well on the fly, or we know how to be persuasive, manipulative, but I count very well. So I was able to look at my growing empire and decide it's time to franchise.
Wow. So when you say, and I hope I want our viewers to get the real here. I want them to get the real. When you say franchise, what do you really mean?
It meant that all up and down the East Coast are a whole bunch of black colleges that could use the product that I was selling at the time. And I had friends all over the country that were in various black colleges. And I enlisted them just like a multi-level networking company. You recruit people to sell what you need, and we go to work.
Now, you know what? I just want to take a pause here because I do find something that you said very fascinating, and I believe it with all of my heart as well. When you take that journey, or when you choose the streets and you're a businessman of the streets, I don't think people realize that a lot of those same qualities could be applied right to a legitimate business. And I think that some people who are on the streets, who are hustlers, who are selling drugs, could, if they just really, chose to go that way, could make very successful business men. Why? It takes desire. It takes hustle. Like you said, it takes teamwork. It takes vision. It takes numbers, knowing math.
Knowing math, but it also takes a certain grittiness. And that survival instinct is something school can't teach you.
Tell me about it.
You learn that from streets. You learn that from being kicked down. You learn that from your money coming up short. Part of that hustle is a shark mentality, and that's what I call it. You refuse to be eaten up, so it's either you or somebody else.
Get it? So either eat or be eaten.
Correct.
So take us from college. So what happened at that point? You were in college. You decided to franchise. Things are going good.
Things are going great. Money is doing wonderful. We moving a lot of weight up and down the East Coast. And, at that time, I had my little role models. Al Capone was out, and everybody wanted to be Al Capone and Scarface. But I got into trouble. I got arrested. And that incarceration had me sitting for a nice little spell and made me think, why am I here? I hurt my family. I hurt the people that I loved. My girlfriend left me that I was about to marry before I got locked up. And you lose so much in the incarceration process to the point where now you've got to fight like an animal to stay alive in incarceration. So you're having to evolve and shift, but not in a positive way.
Right. And you make a very good point. When we get into that, so now things were going good. Something happened where you actually got arrested, and that made you shift into a different kind of animal per se, and not necessarily the best animal. I was actually watching an HBO series. It was a television series or a movie series from HBO, but it was about an innocent guy who got sent to jail. And when this innocent guy, he was very frail, blue-collar person, but being in jail really turned him into a criminal. It turned him into a criminal, and you actually saw the different phases. So I can only imagine, if that's just a picture, an episode, how much it is in real life.
Correct. But when I got in jail, the entrepreneur skills came back out again. I realized that if I wanted to be on the right tier, I had to go to work. So I went to work, signed up, and I was actually supposed to be in the kitchen. I got sick. But it put me on the right tier. And then I started learning who was the big players. Poker's always a great pastime in jail. But everybody runs out of cigarettes. So I had my commissary and started buying up all the cigarettes.
So it's still that hustler mentality,
comes
right?
back out again. And partially due to the end of my stay, something clicked. I don't know what it was, but the guy came to me and said, Mr. Borley, is it possible you can help them learn how to write resumes and learn how to do applications, checking accounts? And I joined the JCs, and that gave me a lot of exposure, and it gave me a lot of freedom in jail.
So now you're coming from this tough point. You're in jail. You're basically in survival mode at this point. And you start to get a break. You say something clicked. And would you care to kind of go into detail? So you had the freedom. You were able to get out of some of the restrictions that jail puts on you. Could you kind of go into detail about what actually clicked, and or even more so, how did helping those other people with the resumes kind of make you feel and go towards where you're going now?
My sister sent me a book from Malcolm X, and I started reading this book. Since I had so much time, it was either exercise or read, and I did both. But the book gave me freedom. We say sometimes to our youth, you need to read, and we don't understand what we're actually explaining to them. Reading takes your mind somewhere your body is trapped at. And by doing that, I realized I got more purpose than being in jail. When I talked to the other dudes that were lifers, I can't see me spending 20 years in jail. not 20 years around a bunch of men.
Right.
That's not my idea.
Right.
You
Right.
know? And I wanted my freedom back. So if this is what it took for me to get my freedom, then let me do it.
And I want to stay here for just a second, only because a lot of times, especially when you're talking about the recipe, so to speak, you broken home, started with the drugs, then went into jail. Some people that have that same recipe, it's a revolving cycle. They get
Correct.
in jail, then they come out, then they go back into jail, they come out. And I think you were talking about it with the reading, but what made it so that you didn't want to go back? Or what was it so that you said, you know what, this is it. I'm not coming back here. This is the last time you're going to see me here in jail. And I'm thinking about somebody out there. Who can we help who may even be trapped in that revolving cycle?
Pastor Bryant had a CD out from one of his sermons, and it spoke about 4 brothers were going to heaven, but heaven wasn't ready for them. So they had to go to hell and wait. But they were only there for 4 days. And 2 days later, the devil called up to God and said, you got to come get them. Jesus said, why? They only down there for 4 days until I can get their heaven ready for them. He said, well, they have taken a bad situation and made it great. So I gave them water. One of them ended up having lemons in his pocket. One had packets of sugar. So they down there making lemonade. And now they've got all the imps trying to revolt, wanting air condition. It's time for them to go. You know, he put it in more African-American terms so we can understand. But the gist of it is, either you're going to look down when you're in prison, out the window at the ground, or you're going to look up. And I started looking up. I realized that it was something that I'm supposed to do, and this isn't it.
And that's deep, because there's an expression, just like you said, we tell our kids to read and it kind of goes over our head. You know, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Right. And you can either look at those lemons, or you can look at it past or beyond what those lemons could be, which could be a lemonade. So just making sure I'm getting this clear. You didn't look at jail. Obviously it was a downer, but you looked beyond that. You looked at what your future was going to hold.
Well, that's part of the hustler mindset. Hustlers always evolve. And that evolution means we're always thinking 5 steps ahead of the next person. So I already knew, all right, I'm here, but 5 steps away, and I know what my time frame looks like. As long as I don't get in trouble, get into fights, then I'm out at a certain point in time. So all I have to do is maintain, but let me help somebody else. One, it builds friendship, and friendship builds protection in jail. So I'm smart enough to know who I need to be around.
Okay. And what I like that part is the connection. So who can I help?
Right.
So even in jail, helping is a positivity, or it helps to help someone else, right?
Correct.
Man. So okay, you're getting out of jail. Where is it next for Minister Brian Borley? How does Brian Borley become Minister Brian Borley?
Well, upon getting out of jail and understanding that I wanted some type of religion, and I was embarking on religion in college. However, it wasn't the right religion at the moment. I thought it was going to be Islam, because I saw them converting black men that had been drug addicts, pimps, drug dealers, and making them stand-up citizens.
Okay.
And I thought that was the route to go. And there's nothing wrong with the Nation of Islam.
Right.
But a friend of mine introduced me to a church, and immediately I went in. You know, we put church off. And I was like, nah, that's not really for me. Them holier than thou cats steal your money and all that. I'm a hustler, so that's how I look at people taking my money.
Right.
But initially, I went one day, and the following week, they were having a Boys to Men retreat up in Pennsylvania. And I went, and I had the best time of my life that I had never really had with a bunch of group of men.
Wow. Now, Boys to Men, not like the singing group Boys to Men, like a retreat kind of dedicated to taking a boy to manhood, so to speak. And, you know, it's so funny that you even say that, because even at age 30, I realized that being 18, having a kid, having a job doesn't necessarily make you a man.
Correct.
And it's the actions that we carry, it's the integrity that we have.
It's the
that
mindset,
truly, it's the mindset. And a lot of that stuff you can't be taught in school.
Right.
It's hard to teach that with a broken home. So you have a lot of these grown-ups but really not men.
Correct.
And I think that's just fascinating how you actually went to a retreat and you said that started to change things.
Right. It started to click.
Okay.
It showed me that
I hope you guys are getting this here. I really do.
collectively, men can be effective as a unit. At that time, I took my son with me. We had a ball. We fished. I taught the young kids how to go fishing, and that birthed the other part of my ministry, Fishing for Men.
Okay, hold up. Let's pause here. So, from that retreat, it kind of grew with your son,
Right.
And that's where the Fisher of Men was actually born.
Correct.
Wow. So, was there a point? Was there a time where it really kind of just clicked? Because what I want to highlight, even myself, I know there were times where I was down and out. I was looking for something. I was looking for answers. And I was looking, and sometimes I was looking in the wrong place. But even with me, I started to find those answers, not necessarily through conversations, but through actions or through certain people, right? And I think I understand what you mean by it started to click. But what would you say to that person who is going through that? What was it that really started to say, you know what, this church is for me, I'm going in the right path, you know, I am going to become a fisherman of men?
I think the biggest part was I saw a need. That void had to be fulfilled. And you can put women, drugs, alcohol, all your vices temporarily in to fill that void, but you'll always come up empty. And at one point in time, I had to realize that I need something that gives me substance. And had a good job. I was still doing my entrepreneurship, and to get out of jail, I had to do community service. I had to go back into a juvenile delinquent setting and help children not become what I was. And it started clicking from there.
And so, and I call this kind of the Mr. Miyagi, because actually one of my mentors did this with me. He told me, so he gave me some information, and I really didn't know it very well because he just taught it to me. But he said, you know what, I want you to go teach 5 people this. And I was a little afraid. I was a little skeptical because I didn't even know it myself. But as I started to teach those 5 people, I started to learn, and I started to get it. I was actually learning while I was teaching. And even though it was a different scenario, it sounds like that was the same thing for you. Once you started to give back and say, hey, you know what, I need to prevent these kids from going down the road that it started to click for you.
Right.
Wow. And I hope you guys are listening to this, because that might be what it takes. If you're in a dark spot, if you want some answers, why don't you start being those answers for somebody else? Have you tried that? If you're in a dark spot, go to someone else and help them get out of their dark spot. Wow, that's powerful stuff, sir. Powerful stuff. So, okay, now we're at the Fishers of Men, and we're in this ministry here. Where do we go from that? Because I read, well, actually, we talked about this before. There was something that happened physically.
Yes.
That really kind of just said, you know what, I can't leave this, I can't die with this in.
Well, I had a good job. The entrepreneur stuff after 911 went down. Everybody kind of folded on their property. So I ended up going into a dialysis clinic, helping people get on the machine, get off the machine safely. And I was doing that for about 9 years. Okay. And one day, on top of having a divorce that wasn't great, patient sneezed on me. Now, I've already got high blood pressure and stress from dealing with a bad divorce. And when the patient sneezed on me, without having medical insurance at the time, I had pneumonia. And I walked around with pneumonia for 5 months, and it was killing my kidneys. Until one day, I just couldn't walk anymore.
Wow. So not having that insurance kind of walked, and you found yourself in the hospital.
Correct.
So what happened at the hospital?
Well, the hospital told me, Mr. Boardley, you got 2 options. You can either be on dialysis or you can die.
Wow.
I didn't want to be here, and I didn't want to be on dialysis. At that point, it was, well, let me go. Life insurance is paid up. I'll tell my daughter I love her, see her later, and call it a day. I was willing to just walk away from this.
Wow.
And I had to be in the hospital for 27 days, and in the process of just being there and crying to myself, like, why me? You know, God started talking to me. You got a purpose. I don't want the purpose. I don't want the call. I don't want to do anything. And he explained to me, but it's not about you. It's not about you. Your purpose on this earth has never been about you. Even when you were hustling and being a taker, it wasn't about you. Jail wasn't about you, but it was meant to condition you. And as I got into ministry, we start understanding why you've got to go through hell. Hell proofs you, and it's proofing you for a purpose in life. But sometimes that purpose means I've got to break you all the way down mentally and physically for you to come back up and be usable in this kingdom.
Wow.
And that's what happened.
And that, look, you got me speechless here because you've just summed up everything. A lot of times we look at life, why me? Why am I going through this? But in that same there's a saying, in disparity, or in every seed of negativity, there's a seed of positivity.
Correct.
But a lot of times we focus on the negative and we miss the whole point. It's a preparation period. Everything that we're going through is preparing you for something once you realize it.
Correct.
And I just kind of want to take a step back, because I want people to realize this. And I swear, sometimes, you know, the Almighty, he has a sense of humor. And forgive me, I'm not saying it's funny, but you were helping people on dialysis, right? And you had to come to a point where you were so low to actually get that same help again. And that's when he actually spoke to you. When you were, I can't take it anymore.
Right.
I'm just done. And at that point, he spoke to you and said, you're not done. I've been preparing you all this time.
Yeah. Wow. And I still tried to die 5 more times. And he wouldn't let me go.
So, look, then you must have 5 times a great purpose then.
Either that, or I done used up somebody else's life.
Oh, Lord, no, we ain't thinking about that. No, because we are glad that you were here.
Yeah,
and I know that you're sharing not only positive words, but you're more than just words. You're more than just that. You are actually doing some great things in the community. I know you're a part of a lot of organizations. Yes. We're going to get into that. Okay. But I do want to kind of go back a little bit, because I know that, and I want people to understand this. So you went from the hustling, you got to jail, but then you did try some entrepreneurship. You did actually open up a few businesses. Correct. Would you mind sharing with our audience what those were and what you learned from that experience?
Well, sitting in jail, you've got time to write, and I plan. I'm a movie buff, so every movie gives me some type of tidbit.
I agree.
The movie with 18, he said while he was sitting in jail, you give me 3 months, I'm good. But if you let me sit for 6, I'm unbeatable. And that's what happened. I wrote out every business that I've wanted, 13 businesses, wrote out the business plans, wrote out the financials while I'm sitting in jail without any money in my pocket.
Wow.
I knew the first business I wanted coming out of jail, you want to look good. I wanted a clothing business.
Okay.
So I had to find who were the people that I needed to meet that would teach me how to do what I want. And once I found them, then the door was open. And we started making clothes.
So it wasn't something that just happened. You had to plan it. Then you realized you couldn't do it by yourself, so you actually had to seek out the guidance.
You got to seek out a mentor, somebody that's going to tell you the truth when you're not right, and somebody that's going to tell you when you're on point.
You know what? It's so fun, and I want to hear about the other businesses, but this is such a great point, and this is something that I try to get people to understand. There are 3 types of relationships or people that we want to hang with, okay, or we want to hang around. And yes, we've known, and we know that you need to keep your circle small. But there's 3 types of people that you want in your circle. You want people that you can pour into. You want to hang around people that are on the same level, striving for you. But you need to also hang around people that can pour into you. It's called the Law of 33. You want to spend 33% of your time with people that are better than you, the same than you, and people that you can pour into. And that's what I believe you're saying about the mentor. Yeah. There's not one successful person that I've met including myself, including Mr. Borley, including any millionaire that's going to tell you that they did not have a mentor. If that's something that you haven't seeked out yet, make sure you do. Find someone that can pour into you. Find something that can actually make you better. Find someone who's been down that road that you've already been down. I'm sorry. That was a great way to say that. So, what about the other businesses? Because I know that you had the clothing line.
Then we did catering, and I was always great in cooking. And I decided, let me go into a couple restaurants, learn how to cook, learn how to manage a kitchen, and we did that. And from there, next came the wellness with the medical that I was already dealing with. And when I found out that my sugar was 758. I started seeking alternative measures versus traditional, and I've never been a traditional medicine type of guy. Mm. But to piggyback on what you said, those three people I was taught by my mentor was you need a mentor, you need a connector, and you need a protege.
Correct, and that's pretty much, I mean, in different terms, right. But it's the same thing. And look, different people. We never even talked about that, but saying the same thing. There's a connection here, guys. So please make sure you're listening. It doesn't matter if you're hearing what I'm saying here. He's saying, we're saying the same thing. Right. Make sure that you are seeking out guidance. Make sure that you're seeking out people who are just as eager as you. Make sure you're finding someone you can pour into. I'm telling you, when you do all those three things, you can't help but feel good. You can't help but grow. So now, are you still? You're still doing the catering, and you're still doing the wellness
clothing, yes.
And the clothing.
Right.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, great.
We're still doing all three. Health took me down for a while, so I'm trying to build back up. But everything has a timing, and I guess God's timing right now is heal my people's body, heal this kingdom. This body is very sick. They've been polluting us for a very long time, and we didn't know it. We didn't understand it. So it's now time to heal these bodies.
And you know what? Let's kind of talk about the wellness, because I think that's a very important topic. Coming from a background in education, I know one of the things that we really gloss over in school, I mean, we teach it, but it doesn't mean that they learn it. Right. It is the health.
Correct.
So I know you said you seek alternative measures of medicine or health rather than traditional. I've always been someone who said, if man can't make perfection, only God can. So if it's not natural, if we're taking something man-made, best believe there's going to be a consequence. It's just or a side effect, right? Or is it worth that side effect? So what do you mean about alternative measures of wellness?
When I came out of the diabetes at 758, I decided, let me find an herbalist, and I found a friend that was an herbalist, studied over in Okinawa while he was in the war. Came back with all this information, and he just downpoured it all into me.
Mentor.
Mentor.
Get it.
Correct. Get it. And it started me to look at life and my body 100% different. I started taking more herbal products. I started trying to understand herbal interaction with traditional drugs. I tried to open up a day spa that was teaching African American people how to deal with illnesses from a therapeutic standpoint. And this was 20 years before medical day spas even got here.
Wow.
But I put my ideas in the wind, and somebody else swallowed them.
And, man, it doesn't always happen like that. We have these ideas. We don't, for whatever reason that might be. And it could be health reasons, or it could just be lack of fear. I mean, with fear or laziness. But when I truly believe, and actually my producer said the same thing, God downloads that information not just to you, because the picture's bigger than you. So best believe, if you have an idea, even though it's you're the only one who can make that idea exactly like that, someone else has a general sense of that same idea. Correct. And if you don't take it, somebody else
will.
So that's so perfect. So if you have an idea, if you have a spark, if there's something inside of you that you know you feel great about, don't let it slip. Don't rest on it, because trust me, you're going to kick yourself when you see somebody else doing the very same thing.
Correct.
But let's keep going with the wellness, because I know that didn't. Here's another thing. Didn't stop him, because he's still doing the wellness. So now, what do you actually do at this point? Like how will you help?
At this junction, I do a wellness coach service.
Okay.
A lot of people find me. I go to a lot of churches, and I speak health and wellness. I show cooking demonstrations on how to still have the flavor that our culture is used to, but using natural ingredients and using household things. And then we go into another part where I explain labels on the back of the food, so you know what not to eat, what not to consume that's already making your body sick.
Now I know we already have some people that are probably like, this sounds interesting. Can you give them either some kind of effect of your training? So what has been some of the effects of the herbalist, or maybe a couple of labels to actually pay attention to, so they can actually walk away with something?
Well, we already understand the issue with soybean oil. George Carver, the peanut professor, the Navy went to him many years back asking him what could they use soybeans for. And George Carver came back in his scientific terminology and said soybean is one of the most caustic and dangerous ingredients you can put in the human body. But now if you look on everything, soybean is in everything.
Get out of here.
Okay, so Soybean Association farmers decided to make a campaign. And even in the restaurant industry where I was at the time, we started converting all of our fried oils to soybean oil. It was cheaper, which meant more profit margin. But what we didn't know was 10 years later that soybean oil is going to block your arteries. It's going to damage your artery vessels. It's going to put so much cholesterol in your system that you're going to be weak, fatigued, tired. It's going to damage your immune system. So now we try to detox.
Now, you know what? That's interesting, and it's a little scary because I know when my daughter was born, she could not drink after she got past the infancy phase. Regular milk wouldn't do. So what do we drink? Soy milk. And I'm just thinking about how many children and how many people are actually using this as a lactose alternative.
Right. Thinking you were doing better.
Thinking you're doing better.
And actually you're doing worse.
Wow.
And they didn't tell you. And the pediatricians didn't tell you because it's all a money trail. So if I know I'm putting your child on dairy for one, I know she's going to, and if the mother had dairy during pregnancy, asthma, cradle cap, psoriasis, eczema are going to be present to some degree. A compromised immune system, because a big molecule such as a cow's molecule for dairy is not compatible to a fetus molecule or a toddler. You need something smaller. That's why in other cultures, they feed their children goat milk. Smaller molecule, smaller body, easier digestible. We can't digest the sugars that are in dairy milk.
Wow.
And soy was bad. So we do coconut and almond now. And even we only do sweet almond milk.
Very interesting. You know, now look, you've got me intrigued. I'm sitting here kind of getting lost, and I've got a lot of questions, but I know we're running low on time. Look, if someone wants to reach out to you, or do you have any events coming up? How can people learn about this?
We've got a lot of events coming up. I'm going to read them off the paper.
Okay. Came prepared. I love it.
September the 17th is Towson. Towson does a one-day big Baltimore community Afro-American cultural festival, and they have a health and wellness village.
Okay.
So my group is going to be there, black professional men representing health and wellness. We'll also have Latoya Felder, who's in charge of breast ambassadors, breast cancer awareness.
Awesome.
So that's the 17th.
Now, where in Towson?
It's going to be at the courthouse.
Okay.
In that little square pavilion courthouse.
I know exactly where you're talking about. So Towson, by Towson Town Center, right by the courthouse. Make sure you're there September 17th.
10 to 3.
Make sure you're coming out here. Show some support. Not only show some support, go learn something. I mean, I don't know about you, but I just learned something here. And I can only imagine what I can learn just by spending just a few moments one-on-one with him and really kind of just going over that wealth and wellness, that health piece.
Then September the 18th, out Owens Mills, we've got our diabetes 5K run or walk. And that's from 8:30 to 11.
Okay. Now, is that also associated with black professional men?
Yes,
okay.
it is.
And really quick, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
September the 25th, my church, New Vision for Life, Bishop Etta Banks, we're having a health fair with Kaiser Permanente sponsoring. So they're going to bring the bus and do initial vitals, blood pressure, BMI, body mass index, check your glucose sugar, check your cholesterol.
Okay. Now, that's Perfect. And so at this fair, they're going to actually be checking
Yes.
the cholesterol. So come out, get tested, make sure that you are exactly where you think you are, because it's nothing worse than finding out when it's too late.
Correct.
Right?
So that's going to be out in Woodlawn, 1724 Woodlawn Drive.
Okay. Can you repeat that just in case someone's trying to write
Sure.
that down?
New Vision for Life Health Fair with Kaiser Permanente is going to be at 1724 Woodlawn Drive from 1 to 4 inside of Security Plaza, where Old Pace used to be.
Okay. Oh man, you went way back. Pace. Oh my goodness. So really quick too, because we do have a lot of church viewers and a lot of spiritual people. And I did hear that you actually speak at churches, right?
Correct.
So if there's a church member or maybe a pastor or maybe there's just someone who owns a business that wants to share this knowledge with their employees and have you come out and help, how could they reach you?
I'm at TB7, Tom Boy, the number 7, Wellness Outreach Ministry at gmail.com, and I'll even give the facebook.com/TB7 Wellness Coach.
TB7 Wellness Coach.
Correct.
TB7 Wellness, what was the email?
Oh, TB7 Wellness Outreach
Ministry. And I love it. You're turning a passion into a ministry. So now not only have you gotten the passion for the wellness, you've got the experience, but you're turning that into a ministry, something that can grow and develop, and again, giving back to the people. That's what it's about. That's what this show is about. Coming from a dark side, coming from a pain, coming from a broken home, coming from drugs, coming from jail, to now blossoming into a flower that's pouring back into the community. And if he can do it, so can you.
Yes.
If someone can do this, if I can do it, if he can do it, you can do it as well.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that you understand that we believe in you. You can make a change if you desire. It doesn't matter where you are now. It doesn't matter. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years from now, you could be a totally different person, reaching hundreds, thousands, even millions of lives,
Amen. Just
just like our minister brother, Brian Boydley. So, sir, I'm just so glad that you had a chance to come out. I know you're a very busy guy. In fact, you were on a radio show earlier this week,
Yes.
so I know you're busy. And just thank you so much for coming out. Is there any last words you'd like to say for any of our viewers?
From the entrepreneur side, never give up on your dreams. Allow God to concretize your dreams first before you disperse those ideas. But never give up on them. They have a reason for being inside of you. And it took me 40 years to understand my purpose. I don't want anybody else to take that long. If I can help you, reach out to me. If I can show you how to do something better, reach out to me. If you've got disease or ailments and you're tired of doctors selling you treatments and medicines with side effects, reach out to me.
And you know what? That actually makes me think of something. We're going to put our Take Charge Challenge on tonight. So here's the Take Charge Challenge. If one, you want to improve your health, or if you know someone that needs to improve their health, I want you to post. What was it again?
Facebook TB7.
TB7.
Yeah.
TB7. I want you to post hashtag wellness ministry. If you hashtag wellness ministry, we're going to make sure that we get you in contact with Minister Brian Boydley. 2, if you are looking for a mentor, if you are looking for some kind of leadership, some kind of guidance, some kind of path or tunnel to get out of the dark place you are now, I want you to hashtag mentor. Hashtag mentor on our page, my page, Jeffrey Sheppard, or Take Charge's page, and we're going to reach out to you. All right? That's 2 challenges. If you're up for it, I want to make sure that you get help if you need help. And listen, as we sign off, like we always say, make sure you're taking charge of your thoughts, taking charge of your actions, take charge of